Do you know, Nigeria, the giant of Africa, with a population of over 200 million people, blessed with an abundance of natural resources, and strategically located in the heart of the continent. Yet, despite its enormous potential, Nigeria remains one of the poorest countries in the world, with over 90 million people living below the poverty line. It's a paradox that has puzzled many, and raises a fundamental question: is Nigeria doomed to remain poor? Corruption is a major obstacle to Nigeria's economic development. It's a cancer that has eaten deep into the fabric of the society, and has led to a massive misallocation of resources. The country loses billions of dollars every year to corrupt practices, money that could have been invested in infrastructure, education, and healthcare. The lack of infrastructure is another major challenge. Nigeria's roads are some of the worst in the world, and the country's power sector is in shambles. The average Nigerian has to rely on generators to power their homes and businesses, which is not only expensive but also hazardous to their health. The country's ports are congested, which makes it difficult for goods to be imported and exported, and the lack of good roads makes it difficult for goods to be transported to other parts of the country. Please, remember to subscribe, like and share. Economic mismanagement is another factor that has contributed to Nigeria's poverty. The country's economy is heavily dependent on oil, which makes it vulnerable to fluctuations in the global oil price. The government has not done enough to diversify the economy, and as a result, the country has been unable to create jobs for its teeming population. The Central Bank of Nigeria has also been accused of adopting policies that are not favorable to the economy. The high interest rate, for instance, has made it difficult for businesses to borrow money, and the lack of access to credit has stifled innovation and entrepreneurship. The government's fiscal policy has also been criticized for being too restrictive, and the country's trade policy has been accused of being too protectionist. Nigeria's history has also played a significant role in its poverty. The country's colonial past has left it with a legacy of underdevelopment, and the civil war that ravaged the country in the 1960s further exacerbated the problem. The country's governance structure has also been a major obstacle to its development. The government has been accused of being too centralized, and the country's federal structure has been criticized for being too weak. The country's electoral system has also been accused of being too flawed, and the lack of transparency and accountability in government has made it difficult for the country to make progress. Poverty in Nigeria is also influenced by global economic factors. The country's economy is heavily dependent on trade, and the fluctuations in the global economy have a significant impact on the country's economy. The decline in the global oil price, for instance, had a devastating effect on the country's economy. The country's trade policy has also been criticized for being too restrictive, and the lack of access to credit from international financial institutions has made it difficult for the country to invest in infrastructure and other critical sectors. The brain drain has also been a major problem for Nigeria, as many of its best brains have left the country to seek better opportunities abroad. Despite the numerous challenges facing Nigeria, there are some bright spots that give hope for a better future. The country's agriculture sector, for instance, has been doing well, and the government's effort to diversify the economy is yielding some positive results. The country's technology sector is also growing rapidly, and the emergence of innovation hubs in major cities like Lagos and Abuja is a testament to the country's potential. The government's effort to improve the business environment is also yielding some positive results, and the country's ranking in the Ease of Doing Business Index has improved significantly in recent years. In conclusion, Nigeria's poverty is a complex issue that requires a multifaceted approach to solve. The country's corruption, lack of infrastructure, and economic mismanagement are major obstacles to its development, and the country's history, governance structure, and global economic factors have all contributed to its poverty. However, despite these challenges, there are some positive developments that give hope for a better future. Nigeria is not doomed to remain poor, but it requires a concerted effort from all stakeholders to address its numerous challenges. Thanks for watching. If you have any thoughts on how Nigeria can overcome its poverty, please leave them in the comments section below. And if you're interested in learning more about economic development in Africa, be sure to check out our other video on the topic.